In my first video in this series, I touched a little bit on the relationship between agency and patriarchy, but some of it needs a little bit more fleshing out. In the example of the bus driver, it is not the bus driver's ambition to go to Minnesota in the dead of winter, driving a bus. He would much rather be going to Florida or living in Florida and not driving a bus. I mean, if he was actually the one in control, he would be doing almost anything other than driving a bus in the snow to Minnesota. And it's also not like he is shoving people on his bus and making them go to Minnesota. He's not actually the one in control of that bus. He's going to Minnesota it's not his idea. It's not where he would prefer to be going, but it's his obligation to go there. Because, 20 or 30 people bought a ticket, and so he has 20 or 30 people that have obligated him to go to Minnesota. Last place in the world he wants to go in the middle of fucking winter, but he's obligated to do it. Okay, so agency is not the measure of whether or not our society is a patriarchy. What is, then? What is a good measure for patriarchy? Well, disposability. In a gender-biased society, you will be able to tell which gender dominates by which gender is disposable. Who are the passengers on the bus, and who is the one that is charged with the responsibility of delivering those passengers? In our society, passengers on that bus are the women, are the females. It is the male bus driver who is obligated to get the passengers where they want, to provide them the services that he has been obligated to. Lions are an example of an actual patriarchy, and you can tell this because the female lion is the disposable. There's only ever one alpha male in a lion pride. There are rarely other male lions in a lion pride, and it has actually been documented not being run off because they display homosexual behavior. They will go and cuddle with other adult male lions. They will have sex together. That may disturb some folks out there, and I don't give a shit. There's only ever one sexually active alpha male in a lion pride, and he has a harem, and the vast majority of that lion pride is going to be his harem. And then there will be the cubs. And if the lion pride gets too big for the mouths being fed to be supported by the hunting area that they have territorialized, then some of those females will get run off. They'll just, you're out of here, boom. The pecking order among females is based on utility, how well they hunt. If a female lion is injured and she takes time to recover, all the time she's taking to recover, her social standing, her status in the pride is dropping, plummeting. By the time she's recovered, somebody's already taken her slot. She'll have to fight to get it back if she can. The significance of this is that most of the hunting is done by the females, and they'll drag the carcass home, and the male eats first, and then the cubs eat. If there are cubs, the cubs eat, and then the females sort out by social standing who eats the last of it. Now, if it's a big carcass, pretty much everybody gets to eat, unless the pride has gotten big enough that it's having trouble supporting itself, and it will eventually get to that point. It can't help it. You've got all of these female lions. Male lion is busy fucking them all. Any of the male cubs that grow up and challenge the alpha male get run off, or in some cases, the young whippersnapper beats the old guy's ass and sends him packing. But there's only ever going to be one active alpha male. If the pride gets too big, females will also be ejected to keep the pride down to a level that can be supported. So that's a real patriarchy. We don't have that situation. We've got the gender opposite situation. Males are disposable. Males are ignorable. Males are invisible. An injured male he's the old guy that gets sent off on a death walk. No one gives a shit, really. What could possibly have set up a situation where we think of agency as being the indicator for patriarchy when we obviously live in a matriarchy. Well, we didn't always. See, we did have situations in the past when we actually had a patriarchal society. These situations arise due to sexual competition for mates. And sexual competition for mates favors the female when the populations of genders are roughly equal. When they're unequal, as in the men have just been off the war and only a quarter of them came back, that's when patriarchy occurs. Because then it's the women at that point that have to compete for male attention. The women at that point have to make concessions because they're not the ones that are in the bargaining position for, being selected for, prospective mate material. In those situations, the women find themselves having to bring something really serious to the table. They have to be extraordinarily intelligent, they have to be extraordinarily sexually attractive, and they have to be charismatic. Charisma covers a multitude of shortcomings. How do we restore that to the extent that the bargaining table isn't weighted in, one side or the other? Well, MGTOW is artificial male scarcity. Currently in Japan, 80% of the men are walking away from the table. They don't want to play anymore. And the women over there are in shock. They haven't figured out how to work this yet. And the women in North America are beginning to see what the hell is going to happen here. They haven't quite got there yet. The real horror of this situation has not quite hit them yet, because during the period of time that it has been a matriarchy, men have been the ones that have had to compete, and they've become really good at it. They don't even take it personally. Essentially, men show up on a battlefield every morning at work. They compete, no quarter asked, no quarter given. They compete for blood. And at the end of the day, the guy that gets the promotion takes everybody else out for beers. That's how personally men take this. In the morning, everybody is out looking to cut somebody else's throat. Be the guy that walks away with the brass ring. By evening, at quitting time, nobody feels like there was anything unfair about anything during the day. A meritocracy is a meritocracy, and damn it, Fred, the better man got the promotion. Fuck you, buy me a beer. Fred says, yeah, I'm going down to the pub. I'll buy everybody a beer. And then, tomorrow I'll be your fucking supervisor. And nobody's going to blink. Nobody will fucking blink. Next day, Fred is everybody's supervisor. And everybody's happy. Everybody knows, exactly what just happened. Everybody's perfectly fucking comfortable with it. And then they go back to killing each other, metaphorically speaking. They go back to killing each other during the day in competition with each other. And, nobody takes it personally. Women enter this combat field, and they look at it and they go, well, this is horrible. Yeah, it is. You precipitated it by putting men in the position that they had to compete like this, and they had to compete like that for centuries. The bar got set so high that it's not really even possible for anybody to call that an easy playing field. We're talking about hard mode, total hardcore, no cheat codes, no reset button, balls out. And women look at that and they go, holy fuck, you want me to get a job in that environment? You're insane. No, we're guys. This is fucking normal. This is completely fucking normal. There's nothing special going on here. This is doing business as usual. A woman enters that job market and it's oppressive. No shit. Really? It's oppressive? It's hard, but if you want to play on this field, you don't come in and whine about it being oppressive. You come into this game, you gird yourself for war. You get the best weapons that you can manage, the best skills, the best toolkit. You get the best skill set that you can, scraped together, and you wade in. And if you don't, you end up failing. And sometimes failure is forgivable, and sometimes failure is not forgiven. But it's not oppressive. It's just the way that business is. There are women that wade into this battlefield, and they act accordingly. But they're rare. Most women do not excel in STEM fields, not because they're not good enough, but because they don't have an incentive to invest the money and time, which are considerable. Some of them go to college, and some of them go to college to get an MRS degree, in which during the period of time they're at college, they find a doctor or an engineer or an architect. They find somebody to attach themselves to that has a promising skill set that offers them to be supported by somebody that can possibly live up to their expectations. And in this marketplace, those expectations are really fucking high. Now, this is inequitable on both sides, but in order to understand exactly how inequitable, you have to go all the way back to their childhoods. What makes them expect this, and what makes men willing to put up with it? And the answer is childhood indoctrination in the Victorian chivalric ideal, the traditionalist ideal of what men and women are supposed to be. Who the hell's perpetuating this? It's not the guys. Guys have no interest in this shit. It's not in a guy's interest to make shit more difficult for himself. It comes from mom. Mom is the almost exclusive socializing influence on both genders of children. Mom teaches the young men from the time that they're born to adolescence. She is the one that influences them to become the men that they will later be. She's also the one who is almost exclusively the influence that teaches her daughter what a young woman is expected to be. So this isn't just a social problem. This is a problem of a familial tradition. Just my 2 cents. If you've got a competing theory, let me know.